Plaza Richards, built in the typical Octagon type style by Mr. Fowler. He kind of invented that building style. Very popular in the 1840s, and it kind of waned off in the 1960s, right before the Civil War. The wallpaper that you see on the wall is a French design. It's over 140 years old. It was from a residence in Beaver Dam. It's hung in this fashion because we think the edges are hand painted. So to protect the longevity of the paper, it's not put end to end. The settee is of the 1860s. It's not original to the home. It's made out of horsehair. The picture that you see over here, right there, that's John's family crest. His ancestors were from England. That is their family crest. The picture above the settee is a drawing that his grandson William did, and it's dated 1870 of the home. Here you have your pie-shaped room, and of course this one is the formal entrance to the home. What do you notice about the door? It's very wide. It's called a Franklin door. Because you're getting light in from the sides as well as the top. Okay, we can head into the music room next. Learn to play piano on that very instrument right there. The carpet beneath your feet is called a Wilton carpet. It's from the 1890s. It was donated back to the home by William Domner, who was a relative of the family. We believe the original went end to end. All the light fixtures in the home, brass fixtures, they're original. This one you would pull the rod down, fill it with oil, and then put it back up. In the whaling days, they had whale oil. When they no longer had that, they had bear grease. It lit the room, but it didn't smell very good. Then they went to kerosene. The settee and the picture on the wall is from the Rogan family. That is a picture of Rose. Her father, Patrick, was an Irish immigrant that came over in 1837. We don't know how old she is in the picture, but if you notice, she's got a dot of white in her eye. That's called vanishing perspective. So if you're walking around the room, it's like your eyes are following. The table that you see and the mirror are of carved black walnut. They're from the 1890s, donated by the Cole family. The marble top is detachable. It's called the Four Seasons table because if you look around, you're going to see the faces of spring, summer, winter, and fall. And it's also an exact copy of the one that Lincoln used to sign the Emancipation Proclamation on. The piano here is called a square piano. Why do you think it's called a square piano? It's missing an octave. It should be way out to here. It doesn't have all 88 keys. It was made by Mr. Gilbert out in New England, came by barge through the Great Lakes, and then an ox cart on the Watertown Plank Road to here. Sadly, it does not play. The picture above the piano is of Moses Richards. Back in the day, you had traveling photographers, hardware, medicines. You also had traveling artists. And in their inventory, they would have pictures where the background and the body were all painted in, except for the face. You'd pick the one that you wanted, and then they paint your face in. Moses liked dogs, so that's what he chose. Music was very popular because you didn't actually have TV or anything like that, so this is some of the larger music booklets, and then also the smaller one over there. The two chairs here and the clock are original to the home. This is called a Chaucery or kitchen clock. It's from the 1840s. Now, John being very rich, he could afford a music box like this. Made in Germany from the 1890s, inlaid wood. If you open it up, you're going to see one cylinder that plays one song. And if you want to hear a new song, you would just replace the cylinder. Now, this was a decoration, but it had another purpose. You can guess what that would have been?
Flowers.
I got a lot of guesses, but that's wrong. If you were a gentleman of the home and you were done with the workday, you had your slippers and your newspaper in here. So you would go find a comfortable chair, kick off your shoes, put on your slippers, and read your paper. This is a picture of John Richards, early 30s. He was born in Hills Corners, Massachusetts in 1806. He went to Williams College, and in 1833, he got his law degree, which is hanging on the wall here. Now, he didn't think that being a lawyer was an honorable profession, so instead he practiced teaching for a while at Irvine College. And then John Chadwick and himself walked from Massachusetts to the Wisconsin Territory. They arrived here sometime in 1837. That was after the 1836 presidential election. When he got here, he started farming. Then him and a couple other prominent businessmen built the first dam on the Rock River. That's when he built his sawmill. When he got established, he went back out east. He wanted to get married. So he proposed to Eliza Forbes. Eliza was born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts in 1860. Her parents weren't too thrilled about her marrying a farmer. They were very wealthy. They were in the stagecoach business. But he convinced her that if you marry me, I'm going to build you the most beautiful home ever. For over 80 years, this was the largest single-family home in the state. It's got 57 rooms plus closets, 63 doors plus closets, an early air conditioning system, and its own watering system. So I think he did pretty good. Mm-hmm. They got married in New York in 1841, and then they came out here. Eliza went from a home that was very, very wealthy with servants to a log cabin with a dirt floor. Yes. No conveniences. They had 8 children. Only Charles, the youngest, was born in the home. So they lived in the cabin for 13 years till the house was ready in 1854. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Yes, this is where you had special occasions. In 1861, their oldest daughter, Anna, got married to a Mr. Thomas in this very room. This is the only room that has a fireplace. It was a belated wedding gift from Eliza's parents, made in 1841. It's of white marble. This is the only room that has a papered ceiling. None of the other ones do. Now, speaking of traveling photographers with their great big heavy negatives, standing still for 3 minutes, no smiling. There was a post in the back to support the baby along with the parent's hand. They also had materialistic things in there that meant something. Eliza treasured that. So what do you think that would have been? For many, many years, it was ahead of the hearth here. It's a wolf rug. John had shot 4 wolves, and Eliza treasured it, and she kept it here ahead of the hearth for many, many years, until time was not kind to it, and after 140 some years, it kind of fell apart. So, yeah. All the furnishings in this room are original, made out of horsehair. We have 60% of the original furnishings in the home. Wow. This is a picture of Eliza in her later years. She died at the age of 86 in 1902. This is a picture of her parents, Eliza and Moses Forbes, and then of course John. And then you have the family Bible. But it just wasn't the family Bible. Oh, yeah. It was your family history. Who got married, who died, who was born. That was all there. This right here, this instrument, Eliza brought with her from out east. This was hers. And again, you have your brass fixtures. Any questions in this room?
Is that seated papers original, or is that been replaced?
I don't think it's original, but it's typical of the time period. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we can head to the dining room next, kind of go back through the music room that way. It was made into strips. It is reversible, and it's also a copy of the one that's in Martin Van Buren's home out in New England. Red was a very popular color in Victorian times. You will notice the bedroom behind you. That was William Richard's bedroom. His picture's above the bed there. He lived to be about 33, 35. He died in 1891. When he was a teenager, he got hit in the back with a baseball, which left him partially paralyzed. So to help with his mobility, his family put the bedroom on the ground floor. The sideboard and the picture on the wall is not original, but it's typical of the Victorian harvest and nature theme. However, the tea service, the cappuccino, and the containers for your vinegar, salt, pepper, that was the family's. That is original. If you see any distortion in the windows, that's original glass. But are they really windows? If you look closely, they're French doors. When you got a house built like this, you were taxed on how many windows you had. John goes, I don't have windows, I have doors. So he cut his taxes in half. Not only that, but on a great day like today, you could open them up and then the one upstairs in the bedrooms for great ventilation. When you see the furnishings upstairs, it made more sense to bring them in rope and pulley rather than going upstairs. The cabinets that you see here are made out of cherry wood because the house sits on a 17-inch foundation level with the ground. It's not shifted. Those drawers will still open. I did have one doubtful person in a tour last year who actually had to open one. This here is a high chair, but is it just a high chair?
It's a stroller.
It's a stroller. It converts to a stroller. Yeah. The stove here is original to the home, as well as all the silver in this cabinet. That was the family's. Now John had a couple of years to think about how he wanted to take that Octagon type style of building and best have it for his family needs. This outside layer of brick, Cream City brick, a lot of businesses uptown have that. That was from a brickyard in Milwaukee, 13 inches thick. And then you have an inner layer of brick from local brickyards in the area. That's 8 inches thick. In between here, you just have air. And I'll explain that when we get upstairs. And of course, you've got your big rooms, your pie-shaped rooms, and then the staircase in the middle.
How tall are the ceilings?
Here, show me the copy. Thanks. Polly's got this in there.
Now the dining room table has been in this room since 1854. It was an anniversary gift that John gave to Eliza. There's 3 leaves to it. It can get much larger. He got it from an affluent furniture store in Milwaukee. The clerks didn't want to serve him though, because even though John had a lot of money and was wealthy, he didn't dress the part. Big straw shabby hat, rope for a belt, very shabby. And the manager said, treat him right, he's good for it. So it was on ox cart and here, and it's been here ever since. The other thing he bought her was china, made in England, called Blue Flow China. Why do you think it's called Blue Flow China?
Is it because of its color?
Yeah, you will notice the blue bled into the white.
Oh, yes.
And the factory thought they made a very horrible mistake, and as it ages, it gets darker. And the factory thought they made a horrible mistake. Turns out it was a very profitable one. The people that could afford it wanted it, and then they started doing it on purpose.
Oh,
The sideboard that you see, John made for the family. The tureen set is not. It was a gift to the family from Timothy Johnson, which was his friend John Chadwick's son-in-law. Timothy Johnson founded Watertown. They wanted to name the town after him. He said, you're not naming the town Johnsonville. So actually Watertown is named after Watertown, New York. Watertown, New York is a Watertown Daily Times. Watertown, New York is in Jefferson County. Watertown, New York is a Rock River running through it. So it was apropos to name it Watertown. Yes.
Are these forks?
I do not know if the silverware is original, but it's typical of the style that they would have had. If you notice this picture here, you're going to see Eliza with relatives of her family at this very table. You will notice the original light fixture.
yeah.
Now, when Queen Victoria had her Jubilee, John acquired a plate. He was of English descent after all, but it was kind of ironic because his father was a colonel in the Revolutionary War, fighting on the Patriot side. Now, if you look in this buttrey here, poke your head in and look all the way to the right, you're going to see where the dumbwaiters started from the kitchen. There were no servants here. It was just Eliza and her daughters. So in the kitchen, they would put the food in the dumbwaiter, bring it up here, put it on the crockery, and then bring it out to table.
Do you know how high the ceilings are?
9 feet maybe or more. We head into this room next. When the family didn't have company, they would spend their evenings in this room. You will notice the hole in the ceiling, that's where the furnace Not very much. Of course, he was a district attorney for a time, but all of his law books are in that cabinet there. John had many occupations. He was a surveyor, he owned a sawmill, a grist mill, a flaxseed mill, he was a farmer, he was a mayor of Watertown, so he had a lot of income. You will notice Willie's chair there, he also liked dogs. You will notice the back door here. If you had friends or neighbors to come visit rather than the formal entrance, they come through this door. Any of the men help that they had, they could board 8 to 12 gentlemen upstairs on the 3rd floor. They would come through this door. Any business they had, they could discuss with John. And then when they were done, they would go up these stairs to their 3rd floor quarters. It was $1 a week versus $5 at a hotel. What do you notice about the stairs?
Steep.
The stairs are white and on the
Steep.
If you notice, they're very steep, they're very narrow.
Yes.
That's the typical building the Victorians had for servants. Now, Eliza was used to a conservatory, so John built her one. All the furnishings in here are original to the home. So when you're ready, you can go through that door by the staircase. That door right there.
You want things to get some sun, is that what that was for?
Yeah. Yeah, they probably have a lot of plants in here.
It's awesome.
Watering plants. Now, when you look up that staircase, you're looking up 40 feet. Straight up. Now, back in when they had this as a family home, there was a plate way up at the top, attached to a piano wire.
Was this handmade?
Well, everything was handmade. They had hand tools. Yeah, everything. You'll see good examples of the hand tools for the wood when we get downstairs. They had a plate weight attached to the top and attached to a piano wire. When it was on a really hot day, they could open up that plate and all the air would go right out, the hot air. You will notice the bell on the wall. That still works. It's still attached to the front door. Didn't matter where you were in the hall. If that rang, the echo effect here, you knew someone was at the front door. This is called a cantilevered or freestanding staircase. It's got 54 treads to it, made out of basswood. Because the house is not shifted, those have never been replaced. They don't shift, they don't squeak, they don't do anything. The spindle and the railings, that was cherry wood, and that had to be replaced twice. You will notice there's no cracks in the wall, because the house hasn't shifted.
Yeah.
This is very typical of Victorian country blue during that time period. Any questions here?
Can we go up?
Each bedroom is of a different time period. Remember, with a family home for over 80 years, we'll start with this one, right straight ahead. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Right. Yes.
Is that original?
No, it's a doll in a real cradle. Everybody see okay? We're in the 1840s, so it's still a colonial or federalist style type of furnishings. You will notice the bed. It's called the cannonball bed. What do you notice else about the bed? It's short and it's high. When they had it in the cabin to help prevent drafts, they raised it. Now, they weren't of tall stature as people are now, but the Victorians also thought that it was more healthy for you to sleep sitting up rather than laying down. And if you've ever had acid reflux, that's true. There are ropes going from the headboard to the footboard, and they support 2 ticks. One is a straw tick and one is a down tick. And when you hop in bed, you better make sure those ropes are tight, hence the word sleep tight. That's where that came from. The straw tick, every so often, it had to be burned, the contents, along with any little critters that were in there. So the rest of it would be don't let the bed bugs bite. The desk in the far corner, that was John's when he had his office in his sawmill. When that got sold, it was up here, put up here for Eliza to do her paperwork. The cradle that you see is original. John made it for all the children. Anna was the first and Charles was the youngest. You will notice the daybed over there. If you had to have a lie down and didn't want to mess up your down tick, you'd use your daybed. You will notice the vent conveniently placed by the pillow. Remember that pocket of air in between the brick layers? Under the eaves of the roof, they would have little plates that they could open up at night. The cool air would come in. They'd close them during the day. Brick is a great insulator, so it was an early form of air conditioning for them. This is the only other room that had built-in drawers. And this pie-shaped room was always for the youngest child. So whoever was the infant at the time, that was the nursery. Any questions in this room? No? Okay, William Richard Thomas's bedroom, Anna's son. We don't know what happened to Anna's husband when she got married in 1861. Was he killed in the Civil War? We don't know. But in 1870, her and her son moved back home. William died in 1937. He was the last immediate family member to live in the home. You will notice the wardrobe there for your clothes. You will also notice some of the gentleman's attire on the chase lounge there. If you had little ones and didn't know where they were going to spend the night, you could roll out the old trundle bed and let them spend the night and then roll it back. The stove here is called a two-flue. It's like an upside-down horseshoe. And because of that, it was better to bring heat out into the room. You will notice the shade ahead of the lamp there. That had two purposes. Do you know what that would have been? If you like reading in bed and you didn't want the glare of the lamp, you'd put the shade in front of it. For the women, their makeup was more wax-based. Don't get too close to the lamp, you'll melt the makeup off your face. Put the shade in front of the lamp. You will notice the hat there. Do you know what the name of the person was who made hats for men? Hatter. Yeah, they were hatters. And in their profession, in order for those hairs to stand up so they could shave it down, they used a mercury solution. It was very helpful for the health of the hatter. That's where the term Mad Hatter came from. And then of course you've got the landing for the gentlemen as they come up the stairs there. Any questions in this room? When Eliza's parents would come to stay, this is the room that they would stay in. This is called the Lincoln bedroom, and of course they never slept here, but the furnishings are very similar to the Lincoln bedroom at the White House. You will notice the stove changed again. That's called a spiral flue. It's even more efficient. If you didn't want to wake anyone when you had business to do during the night, that's the chamber pot to use. You had no clinking of porcelain because you had a crochet cover on. If you want to look in the closet there, you will notice the clothes are kind of haphazard in there. If you had a nail in there, that's where you would hang it. Sometimes they wouldn't even bother with hangers. The room that you are looking at now, that probably was a sitting room for your guests. Right now we have different collections in there. And if you, my sir, want to pull the door shut a little bit, you will also notice again the vent and the slipper and newspaper holder. Now if you'd like to sew and you like to crochet and you didn't want little hands to get into what you were doing, you had no drawers to pull out. This rotates.
That's cool.
So they couldn't get into trouble until they eventually figured it out. Now Victorians were great for their shadow boxes. Do you know what this is made out of?
Is it made out of like wood?
Nope,
Maybe?
it's made out of hair. The women would brush their hair, take the hair out of the brush and put it in a container like this. So they had ample material to do something like this. Remember where the term locket comes from. If you had a young child and they died, before they got to be an adult, you take a locket of their hair, put it in a necklace close to your heart, hence the term locket. You're locking it close to your heart. Okay, any questions? All right, we can head straight through that way to the bathroom, which the only thing that you did is you took a bath. You will notice the plate on the wall, that's where a furnace would have been, so you would have been warm to heat your bath. The tub is not original, but it's of the same shape and style that would have been here. We think the original had a plug with a pipe that would drain the water out. So filling, or emptying it wasn't a problem, filling it was. Lots and lots of hot buckets of water from the kitchen. Before wallpaper was machine printed, it was very, very expensive. So if you had a wash basin there, you didn't want to get the wallpaper wet. So you had material in front of it, hence the term backsplash. It would go on the cloth and not on the paper. We're going into the 1890s now. This is Anna Richard Thomas's bedroom. She lived to be 94. She died in 1936. The cape there on that hanger is hers. That was original. The footwear is not. The other room that you have there, the pie-shaped room, that's a memorial to her sisters who did not live to adulthood, Harriet, Frances, and Irene. Back in the day in Victorian times, you had large families for two reasons: to work the land, and you didn't know who was going to survive to be an adult. The only other original thing there is the brush and the comb on the dresser there. That was Anna's. Beadwork was very popular in the day during that time period. So we have an example of that. And then again, your landing for the gentleman. Any questions in this room? Okay. What do you notice? Ceiling's not as high. Those are short. So maybe his taxes weren't as much for shorter windows. When the sawmill got sold, some of the family would start using these rooms for storage as well. Janet in her diary had the way that she would have on the record drawer. If you had an unruly toddler, there's your bouncy chair. Here you have accessories for the women, 1880s, 1890s, your gloves, your hats, your parasols, as well as over there. If you had a baby and wanted to keep the sun out of their eyes, that's the stroller to use. This is some of the gentleman's attire, 1880, 1890, 1910. Here we have some of the smaller furnishings for children. You will notice the carpet sweeper. Kids still like to copy adults at certain ages. And this is about 1910 for the women. You still have Indians are also Christmas of Indian memorabilia, arrowheads and so forth. In the 1880s, 1890s, you had quite a few German immigrants come over, and that profession was really rare. Hardwoods was one of them. J.B. Lewis, in the early days of aviation, you had airplane propellers made out of wood. Over here you had Mullins Dairy, Brands Incorporated, you have the fireman's hat, and different implements for different occupations. The clock behind you, when Mr. Sally had his jewelry store, the whole clock is the pendulum. And it was up at the back of the store, and I remember that as a kid, going back and forth, keeping time. When he sold the store, he donated it to the Historical Society, and this is now where it resides. The picture over there is the first City Hall for Watertown. And when you're ready, when you turn the corner into the War Memorial Room, you can look down those stairs and really see how steep and narrow they are. Yeah, you can keep on going through that War Memorial Room, yeah. You will notice the map on the wall, 1854. A couple of years after the Missouri Compromise in 1850. I'm not sure. It looks like it. Could be. This is a war memorabilia room. When it was still a family home, you had the Civil War. That memorabilia is on this side of the room. The First World War is on this side. You will notice the picture on the wall. This is a picture of Colonel Ellsworth. He was a friend of the Lincoln family, and he was one of the first casualties of the Civil War. He took down a rebel flag across the Potomac in Virginia and was mortally wounded. Here you have uniforms from the First World War, the McClellan saddle. When tanks came on the scene, cavalry charges were out of the picture. What do you notice about the ambulance driver?
I'd have to find an ambulance driver.
It's a woman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
You had the men fighting in the trenches.
I'm looking at the picture.
You had men fighting in the trenches, and the women learned how to drive by driving the ambulances and taking the wounded off the field. Here you have an early form of a body bag. If you had a war casualty, you take them out in that basket. Here behind you have a uniform of the Red Cross during World War I. It wasn't just regular women who volunteered. Even the Tsarina and her daughters in Russia volunteered for the Red Cross. Here you have a water tank. Way up at the top, in between the cupolas, you had the roof going like this, and it had an opening. It was like a funnel. And all the water would go and collect in this tank. When it had enough, it would go down, 3 pipes would take it down to the kitchen. And it was heated by a coil behind the furnace, from behind the stove. Normal water pressure would bring it up, and you would have it lukewarm. So you actually had the water coming up for the watering stations and for the faucet in the bedroom. It's 12 feet by 2 by 3. It was lined with zinc. The only time they couldn't use it is when it got too dry or during the winter. Then they had a well out back. When it got too full, one pipe would take it down to the cistern by the kitchen. When that got too full, another pipe would take it down the hill and away from the house. You will notice in this pie-shaped room, there's no ceiling, no plaster. We wanted to show you the construction of the slats. The plan later on is to make that room a medical room. Fit it in with the doctors, the dentists, that kind of thing, to fit in with the rest of the war memorabilia. So that's going to be a fun project. I think they even have a hospital down from the 1940s. Okay, you want to see a great view? Back that way. And head up to the cupola.
Imagine how.
because in the days of the Civil War, we didn't know how it was gonna go. It was a very, very uncertain time when this house was finished, so, and then the Indians, who was friendly, who was not. So, yeah. A great lookout.
Yeah.
Say,
That looks good.
I don't know what I was so scared.
What's that?
So scared.
It was actually my coolest thing ever. For a 5-year-old. Even though we went into the stairs, remember people were not that tall. When you get down the kitchen stairs, look up. If you don't, you won't people, it will hurt.
Well, how would you like to go east stairs with
Yeah. Watering station. There was faucets in there.
Oh,
And you could actually turn the faucet on and get your lukewarm water for your wash
so
basin.
each floor has
Yeah.
water.
The floor here is original to the home. You'll kind of notice it's angled a little bit away from the stove. You don't want a rusted stove. This stove is not original. The original one would have been much, much larger. Eliza had to feed her family, all the help on the farm. You know, it took a lot to do that. When they didn't have special guests, the family would eat down here just like everyone else. Stove, table, perfect sense. I call this a multi-purpose stove. You can bake in it, you can cook on top, you can keep things warm. It'll roast your coffee. It has a salt reservoir, a water reservoir, and on laundry days, are you ready for this? I'm gonna let go. Hang on to it. It'll take care of your irons.
Like that.
Yeah. Now, if you didn't speak German, you had to know enough about Deutsch to know your parsley from your thyme. This is all Deutsch, this is German. Now, Eliza, when she baked bread, she did 24 loaves at a time. Feed her family, all the help, and even sometimes the Indians. The Indians liked her wheat bread. All they had was cornmeal. And sometimes they would even give her gifts to thank her for her wheat bread. Now, if you look in that pie-shaped room and look all the way to the left, that's where the dumb waiter started to go up to the buttery adjacent to the dining room. You want to lift one of those things down for me? Yep. Does anybody know what those are? Baking candles. Yeah, want a big wick?
Would you like? Would you like? You I think like you put like the wax, you put it on some that's real
And you put your wick in, make sure you had it looped from one to the other, so when they were kind of dry, you could pull both out.
Yep.
Yep, correct.
So I guess you could make like multiple at a time.
When Eliza got here, she had to learn how to make candles. She had to learn how to churn butter, to spin, to cook, to clean, to can. She had quite a few years for that to learn. Here you have an 1880, 1890s early child rocking horse. Sadly, it's missing its original horse hair for the mane and tail. There's not much of it left. Behind you, you're going to see another stroller or high chair. Any questions in this room? No? This is a cistern that would have been much lower in Eliza's day. For safety reasons, we raised it, obviously. This is where the water came for the kitchen. You will notice the back of the Dutch oven here. And you will notice that big furnace is the ones that keep holding it open so everybody can come through. When they pour burning wood in the dead of winter, they can burn a quarter wood a day. Later on, they converted it to coal. Then you had to clean it every day. You will notice that it kind of looks like a dirt farm. We kind of replicated that. In Eliza's day, this would have been a dirt farm. When she was harvesting her carrots or potatoes or turnips, they go right in her. They were close to the kitchen, they wouldn't freeze, they were right there for the taking when she needed them. You will notice the lion right over there. That used to be a weather vane that was one of the smokestacks for Hartwig's Brewery. You will notice the icebox. You would take big tongs over there, put your block of ice in, close it all up, and it would keep it cold till the ice melted. They had fruit trees, obviously, so they had a cider press. Who knows when laundry day was? My mom did it religiously.
Wednesday.
Monday, yeah. We had Sabbath to rest, so you had energy for Monday. Here's your high-speed washing machine, your slow-speed washing machine. If you had any whites, you would boil them in a container like this. It wasn't the outer garments that were washed, really. It was the inner ones, closest to the skin. You will notice the box behind you. That was Eliza's bread box. During World War I, they had a campaign where families in the States could donate bread to the troops. Bet you guys would want to ride that bicycle, huh?
In crates.
Bicycling got very popular in the 1890s. It even affected women's fashion. They actually could have split skirts so they could ride that the right way. Everything else, the horses, they had the right size on. And this, what do you think this is made out of? How come we're using things? Sewing spindles and spools. They made it into a table. And then past the sawmill. The porches had to be replaced twice. Now, if you were wealthy, you had a trunk like this. Do you know why?
Was it like for was it for like supplies you put in like special things?
No. If you had a trunk like this, yours was the last luggage to go on and the first to come off. Can you stack anything on top of that? You were the upper crust of society. You didn't have to wait for your luggage when you traveled. Behind you is where they cleaned out the ash and soot from the coal furnace. Now the horseshoe there, the ends are up. Do you know why? Horseshoe brings you good luck. Where are the ends up?
Should be down. right?
Otherwise, you have to like.
Yeah.
If they're down, the luck is gonna run out, you want them up.
That's good, right, right, you're right.
When they were done with the ash and everything, they would put it in a container like this, and then when they were all finished, they put it out in the yard wherever they wanted it to go. Any questions? Okay, this is the back entrance to the home. The floor is original. This is called a chickenware or honeycomb floor. Now, if you kind of close the door a little bit, you're gonna see the thickness and size and shape of the stones that went into this floor. This is the key to the back door from 1854, the key and the lock. Now, Eliza, when she had her herb garden, she was very smart. She put it right out here. Right up to the right here. Now that's the well that they would get water when they would use their watering system. You guys had not been to the kindergarten or barn yet?
Can we
Okay.
see the
Huh?
Can we see the well?
There's no water in the well, no.
Oh no, I just wanted to see.
Yeah, it's kind of filled with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The kindergarten here was the first German-speaking kindergarten in the whole country. It was instigated by Mr. Frodel. It was based on an early child education program brought over from Germany between 3 to 5-year-olds, and they were learning through play. It's like a 10-step system. Marguerite Schurz brought it to the States. She started it in her parlor at home, and then she put it in this building here.
Was that building built on site or was it?
No, it
moved
was
here?
not built on site. It was built closer to the city hall in town. They wanted to build a parking lot. The Historical Society saved it and brought it out here. This past summer, we built an addition onto it, which is more modern, so you can actually interact with those steps of learning through play. So you're going through the old part and then interim and then the new part. The implement barn wasn't here originally either. That was found way, way, way out on 2nd Street in the 1940s. It was actually on the Watertown Plank Road from a Macana walkway coming into town. When you wanted to have business in town, you would board your animals there, and then when you were done, you would collect them and go home. So there's a lot of farm implements in there, but the most unique thing is Eliza's side saddle that she actually used to ride the property. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
you're
Very
welcome.
nice
Thank you.
tour.
You're welcome.
my life in Germany. When I was a young child, I didn't go to kindergarten. Do you know why? I created it. Kindergarten comes from German words. Kinder meaning children, and Garten meaning garden. I believe that we needed a place for young children like a garden. Play and learn. I started my kindergarten in 1840. But before this, most children didn't go to school until they were about 7 years of age. I believe that children were like tiny flowers. They're beautiful alone, but glorious together.
Also left Germany at that time because of political reasons. Soon we were married and immigrated to the United States. I don't expect we will live in Watertown for very long, although we have relatives here, maybe only a year or two. Because the farm was so involved in politics, we move around a lot. Here's my clever, and I know it will someday be great things for our new country. But enough about me and my husband. I'm sure you want to hear more about our wonderful little school. My students are addicts on the ground, as well as several neighborhood children. We spend our days playing games, singing songs, and learning through group activities that channel their energy and prepare them for primary school. Our favorite singing game is Como Eins